Hello, hello. Here's CoKo back with another Let's Play. And for a record, third time today, we are doing Townscaper again. And I got some tea. Just as I start the stream, my dryer is done with my clothes. Figures that would be the case, but that's okay. There's no big rush on that. I had mentioned at the end of my last stream earlier today that since today was a bad weather gaming day, if I were to do a little bit more gaming later, I would play one of my mainstream games like Baldur's Gate or even Myst, which I am one stream away from finishing, probably. But as I was about to load those up, just thinking about building more got to me. And I just kind of want to expand this town that I've started creating. It helps a lot that there's some definition to it. 3 different neighborhoods, some unique architectural elements. It reinforces my energy to want to keep going because I've already got a solid base to work with. When you're working on a creative project, that's one of the best places to be, is when things are put together enough that there's a little automation in making progress, becomes more rhythmic. And I have enough ideas in my head that I'm not towards the end of that creative process where you got paring things down and connecting things. Not that this type of game is necessarily has that element to it, but if you're doing a writing project or completing a end-to-end task, like a programming task, by the time you get to the end, it's clean up, streamline, and that's a different type of focus. But here, where it's the Wild West kind of thing, there's still lots of ideas in my head of ways this can go, and yet no real bounds. I'm not feeling any pressure to start connecting things and creating, gearing towards the final neighborhood or whatever. This can go on forever as far as I'm concerned at this point. So let's keep working on it. So where I left off earlier today was just having completed this monstrosity. And I was thinking about it because it was kind of tedious to make. And the concept of it was weird. My thinking was imagining yourself in this city. What if there was an area that had some verticality to it with layers, and to the point perhaps where you could spend an entire day going about your business and never have to leave the layer of your neighborhood. It's tough to totally do what I was thinking of, almost like a city like Hong Kong, where there's a lot of facilities that are not on just the ground floors. Something like that, but not exactly the same concept. But with creative projects, all you need is something that's kind of an inspirational direction, and then you end up doing something that is surprising. And this is surprising. It doesn't really match what I was intending. Not that I expected it to, but it turned into something that's fun to look at and to think about. There's some of these light wells that go all the way down. There's some where it's kind of like a layered light well that also provides stair access to get up and down the levels. And that's very different from a lot of my other sections. And these types of skills or design elements I could try and use in other places, like now that I have a better understanding of what creates the stairs, you kind of need two ground terrain types, which would be like balconies, and then create a layer difference between them. Just as like something to play with. I'm gonna turn the grid back on for a second. I'm not going to use this, but just as an idea of something to play with. If I created like just a struggling to create these steps. Yeah, well, what makes it happen? This ended up being a pretty cool looking building. Yeah, what makes this happen? So does it have to be surrounded on all sides? Is that a critical component? So yeah, we just got two like balcony type tiles adjacent to each other with a level difference, and the stairs get automatically created. Okay, so there has to be... Okay. What's funny about this change is that this tile isn't impacted directly, but it has an effect on these adjacent tiles. Why, though? Let me lower this. I just want to see what is instrumental here. I think I get it. I think I get it. So the neighboring tiles, there have to be 2 of them that are 1 layer level higher. So there has to be a elevation gain of 2 tiles. And they have to be adjacent to the same tile. That's what creates the staircase. And so there can be a 1 tile staircase like this. And just for clarity, like, it's not itself a feature. It's the adjustment of the edges of the corresponding tiles to present themselves as staircases. So it happens automatically when you have a 1 level difference between 2 floor type areas with the additional feature of something above it on either side, on both sides. Because otherwise you get 2 independent levels, but if you got 2 stuff on the sides, they give you a staircase. That's good to know. Well, it's kind of a satisfying visual effect to just chaotically right-click. I'm sure it's similar, just chaotically left-click, just add stuff. That's another way to do things. So, if I want to try my experiment this time, let's create just a tower on the left side. And leave a gap of 1 for now. Yeah. And if we wanted to make this go further up, like each layer, then what we'd need but we need this to be created as like a balcony. If we wanted to keep going higher, then we need this to be a balcony too. So we get something like this. All right, I don't perfectly have the handle on it because it's like when the balcony gets created, like I think I get the sense of it, but like as if it's like, because it's not just by number, right? These are 3 tiles, but they're in a line. So there's something about shared borders with other tiles or something. I don't know. But I would like to use this idea, because what you could imagine is that, like, each of these levels, there's a path off of it. It might be actually hard to accomplish because of the requirements of creating the staircase in the first place. This is all a little bit tricky. Okay, but this was a good experiment to understand those a little better. I think I'm going to try and make use of that design pattern at some point. But probably not here. Alright, so I got this whole side to work with. It's a little bit of a gap here that's kind of awkward. Yeah, it's fine. Give it a little bit of personality. Alright, so we want to do something that's this side now. I like the idea of continuing this path. It'd be a nice intersection, because we created a circular path here that you can follow. So continuing it straight through is nice. We also got a neighborhood to work with over there, or something to work with over there at least. Hey, good evening. How are you? Also doing well. So, today is a rainy, not so nice day, and so I said, let's play video games today. And this is my third stream of Townscaper today. I got into a groove with building, and I was definitely considering that, this evening I would do my one of my like main games like Baldur's Gate or Myst. But I just kept thinking about like cool things to build. So I came back to this yet again. So right now I'm working on a kind of, well, I got so many things built now. It's it's really wild. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm incentivized to continue, because of the fact that it's at the point now where it like starts to resemble a fully fledged, active, vibrant city. And so that just kind of reinforces continuing to add to it. Three neighborhoods, different types of like features and cool things. I got this like town square with two arches, and then next to it like a campus of like official buildings. Some other big buildings over here. And then in this neighborhood, I created a little bit of a hodgepodge area leading away from the museum. And then this thing is like layers of stuff. So there's internal pathways within the layers. So conceivably, if you live on like the third or fourth story, you can go visit your friends and perhaps go to like a store without really descending down to the lower levels, because the pathways connect, at least conceptually. They might not actually connect, but there's enough visual cues that it kind of works. And there's some interior staircases. So I want to utilize the staircase thing some more at some point, where I make like a steep elevation gain with some staircases. But I don't know where I'm going to do that. Maybe if I build like a university campus. There is an MC Escher vibe to those staircases for sure. Yeah, maybe if I made like a university campus, I could do staircases and little pathways. It's not a bad idea at some point to include in this city. Alright, but what I want to do right now is still create a bit more hodgepodgey, organic layout stuff over here with random strokes of inspiration. Oh, every neighborhood's got to have a coffee shop. Several. Yeah, I think it's generally a tactic that I think works is to do like a some diversification, diversity. So if I got like a really big structure, to let it have the visual space to appear interesting, I want to have smaller stuff immediately around it. So that contrast can help. And then also, yeah, the story stuff around it. I don't want to have the museum only be bordered by like big corporate planned government stuff. I want to let some of the fun neighborhoods also be near the museum. I also the big government area ended up taking up a lot more real estate than I thought, and so I kind of need more organic small city just to make it the ratio feel right. Wouldn't really make sense to have like gigantic campus buildings with no small houses. People got to live somewhere. All right. Let's try a fun shape in here. Let's do like a winding path. All right, another little market square, I think. And maybe somewhere in here is where like the centerpiece feature of this neighborhood can go. Or it could also be over here. I don't know. so I need to match one of the colors in order for this to create a balcony up top. Alright, that's our coffee shop up there with a view down into the marketplace. Yeah, you have your choice of market view or ocean view. There's even beach access down here. For now. Alright, let's put something not totally in the middle, but like here. There we go. And then put a white... Actually, I don't need... It doesn't need to be the same color to get the hanging laundry or flags or whatever those are. Oh yeah, as governor of this island nation, I insist that pets are universally allowed. Whoa, how on earth did I get this type of tile? What? I've never seen this tile before with glass all the way around like it's a lighthouse. Can I do that in isolation? All I did was build 3 layers up. Now, the key was that they were 3 different colors. So is that the case? That if I do... Oop. Well, what? I got it with 2 colors. Is this something related to the way that... This grid looks roughly square. Nothing particularly fancy about it. How on earth has this not happened to me before? Very confusing. Alright, but that'll stay, because that's cool. I think all of these will become that, though. But yeah, if I add a third, all of them have that capacity to be that. Very strange. So now that I know, like, I guess how to make this, because I don't really want it here. I'd rather do something like this. Yeah, I can seemingly make it happen anywhere. There, it's a chaotic little corner building. Cool. That's a nice little market. Okay. I think that little area is now done. Very closely packed things, hodgepodgey. But there's a little spares tile. I don't want any excess water just in the middle. Yeah, this ended up being like little pathways, which is cool. Whereas in the other older neighborhood, there's a lot more water that kind of like here that are gaps. Yeah, here there's a lot more water gaps. This one is a little more grounded. Yeah. Okay, so to keep this going, we got to do something over here. And this might be an opportunity to come up with some kind of a... I mean, a lighthouse in the middle of, like, town doesn't really make a lot of sense. Unless it's, like, you know, a historical old lighthouse before the town expanded around it. But let's start with, like, one of these star tiles. They seem to be good for unique buildings. Something like a lighthouse, I suppose it's not the worst idea to just have it, like, on its own. A few tiles away from anything. But yeah, like an old lighthouse that got, you know, eventually subsumed and surrounded. That's a neat idea, too. It's funny how this thing in the middle isn't a lighthouse. It's because it's all one color. But I think kind of what I want actually is to like do a little bit of a thing. This is funky. I don't know what to make of this. It's almost like a beehive kind of thing. What on earth is this? How does anyone maneuver in there or do anything? I'm keeping this. I don't know what it is, but I'm keeping it. Those star tiles just give you a lot to work with. Like, this is absurdity. How does anybody get anywhere? Like, nobody's climbing up these ladders to get into their places. The hive. Okay, that's a cool feature. So now what? A couple little houses over here approaching the museum. Kind of like the ones across. Maybe a little community of houses. Yeah, maybe it has like a star-shaped elevator with 5 doors. Or however many I need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But there's also these little thingies. Yeah, well, something like that. It's almost like a little street. Cool. I think that roughly takes care of this neighborhood. I could always expand on it later. But we got the first neighborhood here, the second neighborhood here, third neighborhood here. That might be good for now. I kind of want to play some Mist, but I might like exit the stream and start a new one, but it would only be like a break of 2 seconds because I just want to have a new stream with the title of Mist. Yeah, the overhead view looks really cool with or without the grid. Yeah, and they have a feature where you can export this into like a 3D modeling format. So conceivably, you could import it into something like a Unity game development studio and have it render with physics as like a town you could walk through. So I could even imagine like having a character that could run around this place. That might be a fun project to do someday. Alright, I think what I'm going to do is just like exit the stream for a brief second and then rename it to Mist and start it back up. So I'll see you very shortly.